ORD2 Indivisible. I would love to see a show of hands of who is, this is their first Indivisible meeting. This is their first Indivisible. Wow! Welcome. That is lovely to see so many new faces. Given that there are so many new people here, I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about the history of Indivisible. I'll move on to our mission statement. Then I'll talk to you a little bit about what we're all about for this particular chapter. We are all, the steering committee is all here today represented, and we'll introduce ourselves, let you know what we're doing, and then really kind of moving into not only what we've accomplished, but where we're going. It's been 6 months, if you can believe it. It's amazing to me because all of us pretty much have been here the whole time, the whole 6 months of this presidency. Wow. I haven't mentioned that out loud. I mean, I think about it a lot, but it's very powerful to think that it's been 6 months and how much further we have to go. But I'm also going to talk to you about how important it is to get involved so that you don't go into moments of collapse like I just did. Because I've been chugging along at such a rapid pace that a lot of times I forget what's going on in Washington and around the world. So Indivisible started with a couple of congressional aides in Washington. They were very aware of what happened in 2008 when the Tea Party came into power. Do you all remember that? Yes. Yeah? We had a really popular president. We had a Democratic mandate in the House and the Senate. And people from all over the country started popping up, forming little groups, speaking to their local representatives and saying, no, we don't like what Obama is doing. No, we don't want you to be doing that. We want you to be voting no. Now, their tactics were sometimes a little unseemly. They were oftentimes rude and disrespectful, and Indivisible is not that, I assure you. But what we do is we are saying no in massive amounts of numbers all over the country. And I hope you have seen in the last 6 months how far our no has gotten in this country. Do you all see that? There is no question in my mind that what we are doing is the only way to resist what's going on in Washington. So we're hoping today to not only educate you as to what we've been doing, where we're going, but also to invite you to come along with us for the ride. And we'll give you many, many opportunities of how to engage with our movement. And I want to just say, personally for me, this has saved my soul, Indivisible. I've gone through a metamorphosis. Some of you have heard my metamorphosis of not being able to get out of bed in the morning to feeling more depressed than I've ever felt in my life. And Indivisible, when I read the Indivisible Guide, and you could read the Indivisible Guide yourself on indivisibleguide.com. It's a wonderful website with a lot of information, and they're our mothership. They're the ones we go to when we need direction and guidance, because they're in Washington and they're the pros. But when I read the Indivisible Guide, a light bulb went off literally in my heart, where I knew that there was a way that I could myself make a difference. Because a lot of times we feel hopeless and helpless. Has anybody felt hopeless and helpless in the last 6 months or since November?
Not this morning.
Or this morning. So Indivisible gives us, Gary was feeling helpless, I was feeling okay. Indivisible gives us all that voice that gives us the reassurance that we alone and actively and working together can and will make a difference in this country. So Thank you again for being here, and there's going to be time at the end for questions and answers. We have a short slideshow. Again, you'll hear from our steering committee, and then we'll open it up to questions and answers. So let's start with our first slide. Thanks, Bowen. So this is our mission statement, and the steering committee spent a lot of time working on the verbiage. What's very important for us to share with you is that we are an independent organization. We're not Democrats, we're not exclusively liberals, we're not exclusively progressives. There's a kind of a cornucopia and a panorama of who we are and who we represent. In fact, Kristen's going to talk a lot about, we did a survey, and she'll be telling you specifically about who we are, who Indivisible is. But we don't want to alienate anybody if they're not happy with Trump, if they're not happy with the extreme GOP agenda. This is not a normal GOP agenda. If you are not happy and you're not a registered Democrat, this might be a place for you to call home. So we are an independent grassroots organization dedicated to resisting the Trump agenda. And we actually have started resisting the GOP agenda. Actually, we started very early on resisting the GOP agenda because we feel like the GOP agenda is following Trump like the Pied Piper. We don't understand why there isn't anybody in the Republican Party saying what is going on here. And we don't want to get to the place where normal becomes not normal and not normal becomes normal. What's going on in Washington is not normal, and the louder we speak, the more we raise our voices, the more our members of Congress will hear us and hopefully start changing their minds about the way they're voting in Washington. So we work collectively with Indivisible nationwide, empowering people to hold our members of Congress accountable. And again, for you folks that are new to Indivisible, that's all it is. We want to make sure that we hold our members of Congress accountable and that they know that we're here, we're a force to be reckoned with, and that we're not going away. Next, please. These are the guiding principles of Indivisible. Trump's agenda will take America backwards and must be stopped. And in order to work together to achieve this goal, we must model values of inclusion, tolerance, and fairness. So this was written by Indivisible 6 months ago, and we have already seen time and time again how Trump is trying to sometimes take us back to the Stone Age. But we will not let that happen without a fight. And it is a fight. We're prepared to do what we need to do to make sure that as little damage happens as possible. Okay, well, now we're going to introduce you to our steering committee and board. Kathy Dombey is on the board. She's no longer on the steering committee. She unfortunately broke her elbow or her arm in a biking accident yesterday, and she couldn't be here. But we're all here. I'll just start by telling you that I'm the events liaison, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about events later on today, but that is my role on the steering committee, and I love to get up in front of audiences and convince you to get active with me. So that's me.
Hey, my name's Brett Levick, and I am the liaison to the social media team. That's what I do.
I'm Terry Martin, and I'm the liaison to the writing and research team.
I am Teresa Sappe, and I am fundraising.
I am Kristen Moline. I started out as the Twitter person for ORD2, and now I am the outreach team liaison.
I'm Jim Bachman. I'm on Brett's social media team. I take care of Facebook, and I also put out the calls to action every morning, sometimes over the weekend, along with Facebook. And I'm in the early stages of the groups forming a thing we're calling the Voter Advocacy Team, which is aimed at initially getting the vote out, but we also have an interest in doing focus groups around the district and finding out what people think and watching redistricting and other voter-related issues.
Hi, I'm Jenica Fay, and I help get the voter advocacy team going as well as the action team, and I've been involved in outreach. But right now I'm the action team liaison to the steering committee.
So it definitely takes a village. And speaking of village, we have a team of people that helped us today. Mary, Fran, can we give everybody on the team a big hand? And a special thanks to Bolin Meek from the UU. He's helping us with audio visual today. So yeah, it's really important, I feel, for everybody to see that this team is strong, it's mighty, we're all so dedicated, and we're growing. We want to continue to grow, and hopefully you'll be growing with us. And speaking of growing, there are nearly 6,000 indivisible groups all over the country. There's an average of 13 per congressional district. Each congressional district has at least 2 chapters, and there's 13 on average. And in our district, Oregon District 2, there are 34 active chapters just like this, all over the district. Now, I'm going to be spending a concerted amount of time talking about the district, District 2 in Oregon, because, and you'll find out from the next slide, we have this grassroots advocacy is really just about acting locally and targeting our members of Congress. We are taking a defensive approach focused on stopping Trump from implementing an agenda built on racism, authoritarianism, and corruption. Our mission is very, very small and focused, which can be, on one hand, quite simple and easy to swallow, and on the other hand, quite overwhelming, because we see what's going on, whether it's the tweets or the photos or the words that come out of this person's mouth. It's a lot to handle, and we want to make sure that we, at any given point, make sure we say no to this, because it's not right. So in our district, we all have 2 U.S. senators. Everybody in the country has 2 U.S. senators. Ours are Democrats Ron Wyden and Jeff Merkley. And they so you know by the applause, we are so lucky to have these guys in our corner. They are indivisible supporters. They come and speak with us and for us and about us, and they are representing us for the most part 100% in Washington. And we're just extremely, extremely lucky to have them in our corner. And they're going to go to bat for us, and they have been going to bat for us. Conversely, we also are represented by Republican Greg Walden. When Greg Walden first was elected about 18 or 19 years ago, he was a moderate Republican. And a lot of people, I wasn't here then, and a lot of you might not have been here then, but he represented more of his constituents, a great deal more of his constituents than he does today. Today, he represents the pharmaceutical industry, he represents big business, he represents pharma, and he basically represents anybody that will line his pockets in order to become more powerful in Washington. And we are saying no to Greg Walden louder than anything that we're doing. So we have made slight inroads with Greg Walden. In the very, very beginning, we asked for a meeting, we asked for a meeting, we asked for a meeting. He finally granted us a meeting. We didn't see any wiggle room at all. In fact, we haven't seen any wiggle room. But we will tell you this. He knows that we're here, and he really does know that we're a force, and we don't want that force to go away. We need for Greg Walden to continue to know that we are here, and we are not going to vote for him next year. We are just not going to vote for him next year. That takes a little bit of work. That takes a little bit of work because we need to get people to the voting booths. We need to educate people. There's so many different ways that people are getting untrue information right now. We need to make sure that the information that people receive is true. The way he has spun this healthcare thing is ridiculous. I can't even think of a word that describes it more than ridiculous. That he can be denying several hundred people healthcare in our district and 22, 23 million around the country with this idea of replacing Affordable Care Act. So we're not going to be taking that at all. Next, please. So just to show you how ginormous our district is, and that's thanks to, unfortunately, gerrymandering, what you see in the green up there is District 2. That small little piece is made up of 4 other very safely Democratic congressional districts. But this whole entire piece right here is Walden's district. And one of the things he kept on telling us when we were begging him for a town hall is the district's too big, it's hard to get to Jackson County, it's hard to get to Jackson County. And of course we're all thinking, if it's so hard to get to Jackson County, then stay in Hood River and get out of Congress. But none of us had the gumption to tell him that. But I was thinking that really strongly. So this is made up of 20 counties, and it is quite big. And you know, I'm hoping that Jim and Alan Hallmark, who will also be up here later, will talk to you about how I feel like if we get Jackson County and we get Deschutes County, which is, you know, where Bend is, and we get a lot of NAVs, the non-affiliated voters, we'll have a really, really good shot of unseating Walden next year. Now, everybody probably knows, that's worth an applause. We're going to unseat him. Everybody knows that he's the leading architect of the health care bill, this awful, awful health care bill that they can't even pass in the Senate. And he's also been shimmying up to Trump, which I feel makes him look quite foolish and extremely vulnerable. And while we're on the subject of Greg Walden, I believe that for the very, very first time, there are at least 5 people interested in running against Greg Walden next year. I think I have their names here. So everybody knows about Jim Crary, who ran last time. There's a woman by the name of Rachel Sidoris in Bend who's already decided she's running. She has a campaign up and running. Michael Byrne, Julian Bell, he's a physician from Medford. Jamie McLeod Skinner, the ex-city manager from Phoenix. And I don't know how many of you have met Chris Van Dyke. He came down and spoke to us for a couple of weeks ago. He'll be deciding soon whether or not he'll be running too. So it's exciting to have some really good energy, yeah? And we're giving this guy a run for his money. And that says a lot about the state of the world right now. That so many people are wanting to run against somebody who has such a solid hold because of his pocketbook. He's got such a solid hold on District 2. I do not believe he has a solid hold on the people of District 2. I have a very good idea that he has a hold on the money of District 2, which comes from all over the country. But I do believe he's vulnerable with us. May I please have the next slide? So I'm really excited to talk about what we've accomplished, both the resistant movement nationwide and what we've accomplished with our local chapter. So with our nationwide chapter, we have, because of our resistance efforts, we have made sure that 3 Muslim bans have been overturned in courts. That is huge. That is huge. I know the Supreme Court is not voting with us right now because of our dear friend Neil Gorsuch, but it could be a lot worse than it is right now if Trump had his way. And he doesn't have his way because we're speaking up. As this is old news by now, but it is very, very significant how all of these things add up. Flynn getting fired, Jeff Sessions recusing himself, Chavez announcing he will resign, Bannon being removed from the National Security Council. And mark my words, it is because of our efforts. It is because of our efforts that we are making sure that this Russian debacle is not going away. So we have Mueller doing a special inquiry right now. I'm certain there's going to be a lot of findings, and who knows, what is actually going to be revealed. But that is moving forward, which is wonderful. And here's the thing that I think that we could be more proud of than anything: that to this date, 6 months in, even though it was the #1 priority of the GOP, they still do not have a replacement. They still have not repealed the Affordable Care Act. And I know that debate, well, I don't know if it's far from over. I've heard that if McConnell can't get something going by the end of August, he keeps on stretching it out. Wow, does that guy spend his time? Just look at the way he spends his time. It's amazing to me. Anyway, the fight's still on. We still want you to make those phone calls, but nothing has happened yet. And really and truly, no major legislation has been passed under this Trump administration. That is tremendous. That is tremendous. Okay, so what we have done locally with our mighty team here, and it's not just the steering committee. We have probably 50 to 100 active volunteers, but we formed a steering committee and board. We are now an established 501c4, which means we can start doing fundraising. By the way, we are selling our ORD2 t-shirts out there in the lobby if you'd like to pick one up. And we built a dedicated group of volunteers. And, the crux of what we do with Indivisible is, people ask me all the time, I don't really have a lot of time in my schedule. If I could only do one thing, what could it be? And I always say the same thing. If you can make that one call every day, whether it's to Walden or Wyden or Merkley, that is the best thing that you can do. And then a lot of people say, but Merkley and Wyden are with us, but Walden will never be with us. This is all true, but I want to say that they tally every single phone call they get. And when we hear from Molly in Wyden's office that the phone calls have gone down to before the presidential election rate, it hurts my heart because, Ezra Levin, who's the founder of Indivisible, says it best. He says, if we look back, if we're at the midterm elections and we look back on the early days of 2017 in January and February, and we say, yeah, wasn't that Women's March great? And wasn't that movement when we first started great? Yeah. And that was it? You know what? We will lose. We will lose if that happens. So if people are tired of me saying, this is a marathon and not a sprint, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. But the words are very, very important. We all need to stay the course of this movement so that people can hear and see us way, way, way till the very end. So making those, we every day, Jim was talking about it, we make sure that you know what the call to action is. We have our sources so we know what's going on in Washington. We give you that information. We let you know what the issue is. We give you the phone number. We even give you a little sample speech. If you don't want to use your own words, you can just say what we've written for you and make it your own. But if you can make those calls every day, that would be tremendous. We also post it on Facebook. We have a Facebook group where if you want to get involved in a discussion, you can do that. And we also have a Facebook page where we list our daily calls to action. And we are now holding 2 rallies a month on Tuesdays, and then on Saturdays for people that work during the week. So those are both happen in Medford, and we have them every month. I feel really, really great about our local chapter pressuring Walden into having a town hall meeting. I think it's been years and years and years since he came to Jackson County, because this is like a Democratic stronghold, or most of it is. I know that they don't always vote that way. But he actually came to Medford, and I'm going to say, how many people were at that town hall? Wow, okay, great. Wasn't that great? Yeah. So I would say like 90%, 95% of the people were angry with Walden. They don't like the way he's representing us in Washington. And as we say all the time, he's lost touch with his constituents, and he needs to be replaced. So we are very, very, if he wasn't certain, because it wasn't just in Medford. I saw a live stream of Bend. I saw a live stream of Grants Pass. That man is not popular right now, and he's very, very vulnerable. So we're hoping that things are going to change next year. So one of the things that we're doing in our local ORD2 chapter is we're working. I told you about these other 34 chapters. We hosted a District 2-wide a weekend retreat, where we met other people from all over the district. And we don't want to duplicate. We want to work consistently with each other so that when it comes to, and again, what Jim and Alan are going to be talking about, the neighborhood leadership program, when it comes to getting the vote out, when it comes to walking the districts, we're all going to be working on the same script, on the same formula, so that we can make sure that when we do have somebody that identifies as the front runner after the primary, and we're not going to get involved in any of the races until after the primary, then we can really set into motion this idea of making sure that people know the issues, how to vote, when to vote, and everything else. So that's one of the things that came out of the retreat, but also it's just really great to meet indivisibles from all over the district as well. And then we held Resist Trump Tuesdays every Tuesday for the first 100 days of the administration. So we met in Medford, and after the 100 days, we moved it to one on Tuesday, one on Saturday. But it's an amazing way for us to connect with each other, to commiserate, and also to find ways to keep going emotionally with all that's going on right now in Washington. So these are some of the ways that our legislators are influenced. When we hear that 10,000 people on any given day are calling Wyden's office and saying, could you please vote no against Betty DeVos? We know that Wyden is hearing us. Right in the beginning, before we started this campaign, a few of those cabinet appointees actually made it past the Democrats. When we started actively calling, that was it. To me, that was so reassuring. They are absolutely listening to us, and they stopped voting for all of these cabinet appointees when we started making those calls. Individualized emails and letters. Letters especially take a lot longer because, now with the anthrax scare, they have to go through all of these detectors. So if you really want to be the most efficient, the phone calls are the best. And if that doesn't work for you, then emails are great too, especially if you've got a lot to say. And some of us do have a lot to say. So groups like Indivisible that are active, we're not the only resist group in the country. There are a lot that are being active, and we're working together. But it's very, very important how much the legislation is listening to Indivisible. You see it on Rachel Maddow. You even see it on Seth Meyers now. It's an amazing thing how Indivisible has grown. And then local editorials and media attention. I think Jenica's going to talk a little bit about writing letters to the editor. They're very, very effective, and we'll talk to you about ways for you to be doing that. Face-to-face meetings with our constituents. Wyden and Berkeley love to meet with us, and they do it a lot. And Walden on occasion has met with us. We go to their office and speak to their staff members. But again, it's really, really important for them to see how we are not going away. And then letters to the editor. We talked about that already. Okay, so how do you connect with your members of Congress? Well, calling them when we email and post action items is really the best way, especially if you don't have a lot of time, for you to be involved. What I do is I enter all three of the numbers in my phone, and then every morning I just say, call Ron Wyden, and there he is, and then I've got my little speech that David and Jim have sent me, and it literally takes like a minute these days just to get those three calls out of the way. So entering those phone numbers just makes it easy for you. You can follow them on social media. All three of them have active Facebook and other pages. You can sign up for their emails. On their website, you can sign up to get more information from them. How many people received that form letter from Greg Walden about healthcare? Yeah? Wow. Is he delusional? You can join us when we visit their offices. We're not doing that as often as we used to, but we will be doing that more often, for sure. And then you can sign up for their Google alerts. I don't do Wyden and Merkley, but I am on Walden's Google alert. What that means is that every time, anywhere around the country, Greg Walden's mentioned in a newspaper, I get an alert to the article, because it's really important for me to be on top of what he's doing. So not only can I talk about it, but so that I can say, wow, let me try to right that wrong, because he just gave me some misinformation. Let me pass on the correct information. So I do that with Greg Walden. And then Resist Bot 50409 is you text that number and you can send a fax. The first 10 will be a fax to the office, to their offices, and then after that it could be phone messages. So you don't even have to do anything except say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. That's if you're really on the go and want to be efficient about it. I talked to you a little bit about how important the difference is between us and the Tea Party. With all of the controversy of Indivisible and the resist movement, we always want to take the high road. We always want to make sure that we are speaking to people with dignity and respect. So even if you're calling Walden's office and you don't like what the staffer is saying, we ask you to please be respectful. To make sure that you just focus on the one current issue. Oftentimes people say, oh, I want to talk about LNG right now. Well, if LNG is not, that's the pipeline, if that's not in the news right now, most probably the person that you're trying to reach isn't as interested in what's voted, instead of what's being voted on today. So please stick with what's being voted on today. Again, we give you that information, and make sure that you tell a personal story if you have one. If you are really going to be suffering, or someone you know that's going to be suffering, if their health care is taken away, even if you think that they've heard 1,000,000 stories already, make it 1,000,001, because your story is the most important story. And let them know how important, especially with Walden, how important it is that the health care that you have right now is saved. And then always take notes and names. I say good morning, to people personally, but it's always nice to have a record in the log of what you've said. And then make a direct ask. please tell Senator Merkley to vote no on this bill. I think it's going to be harmful. And it can be just as easy as that, as simple as that. Okay, so we're looking at the next 100 days, we're looking at the next 6 months, we're looking at the next 18 months, and we're going to start moving into how you can engage, how you can start becoming more active yourself, if that's something that you want to do. And again, I want to just remind everybody that to be involved, for you to be involved in this movement, I just, from my personal experience, it really, really helps me. It really helps me get through what's going on. So I'd love for you to keep that in mind when you're thinking about getting more involved. Again, making those calls to action. Please join us. We have our bi-monthly rallies. We'll be doing more protests, I'm sure. And, did anybody go to Wyden's Town Hall in Ashland? Yeah? That was really, really inspiring. I'm sure Mercury will be down here. So please join us for a town hall meeting. And then spread the word about Indivisible, and not just here, all over the country. You know, when we have a crisis, like with healthcare, we want to make sure that we reach our friends and neighbors in states where it's really, really important that their senators know how devastating it'll be if they lose healthcare. So this is a collective organization. It's not just Ashland, it's not just Jackson County, it's not just Oregon, it's all over the country. Talk to people about Indivisible. Let them know that there are over 6,000 or nearly 6,000 groups all over the country that they can connect with. And it's all on indivisibleguide.com. And then make sure that you register to vote. You know, a lot of people are like, okay, have I registered to vote lately? It's all online in Oregon. It's so easy to vote online. But a lot of people don't even know that if you are a registered Democrat, you might not, or if you're a registered independent, you might not be able to vote for the in the Democratic primary. So make sure you know about that too. And then volunteer with us. And we're going to start moving on to more specific ways for you to volunteer. Jenica's going to talk about the Letters to the Editor campaign. You could do this with your own friends, or you could join us for a Letters to the Editor campaign. We're going to be doing weekly phone parties that Dasha has organized. You could start a poster campaign if you're feeling creative and if you've got a lot of artistic energy, just to make posters and put them all around Rogue Valley, political posters. Bring 3 like-minded people to the next meeting. We're hoping that we're going to start having regular meetings, especially since we don't meet as much with our rallies as much. So please invite people to join us and hear a little bit more about Indivisible. And then, if you can narrow it down to one reason to tell people why Greg Walden doesn't represent you, start talking about that. I mean, make it safe. You don't want to, be agitating or anything. But if you know people already uncomfortable with Walden, let's not keep it in the closet anymore. Let's start talking about it openly and candidly that this man absolutely needs to be replaced next year. So now we're going to move into our teams and how and where you can volunteer with us. So we actually have it, we have set up stations after the meeting, after the questions and answers, where you can go and find out specifically when our next meeting is. When I say next meeting, I mean team meeting. All of us have designated team meetings within the next couple of weeks, and that's when you'll find out a lot more about what team, what the team that you signed up does. So we also will tell you where to sign up. Do you want me to do that, or will everybody? You'll do that. Okay. So then I'll just briefly say that as I said before, I'm on the events team. So if you are interested in doing things like helping organize meetings like this, or if you want to help us with rallies, there's a lot of different very small specific things that you can do, whether it's wearing an orange vest and directing traffic, or handing out leaflets for different events. There are plenty of opportunities. Mary is the chair of that committee, and she'll be here afterwards signing people up for if you'd like to be on the events team.
Can you hear me? Awesome. Okay, so I'm Kristen, and I am the liaison to outreach team. I still do our Twitter account as well. But I'll tell you a little bit about outreach. So one of the things that our team did recently is pull together all the details for the Ashland 4th of July celebration. So we were responsible for getting that booth put together that was in the park and getting, the parade details squared away. So and when you think about outreach, that does kind of make sense because, it is what we want to do in outreach is spread the indivisible word, right? Because for me to go back to before January, when I didn't know what indivisible was, seems like so far away to me that now when I ask somebody that comes up to the booth and I'm like, have you heard of indivisible? And they say no, I'm like, how can you not know this? Like, I don't understand, But that's what it's about, is getting that word out into the community so that we can get bigger. And the way that we can do this is through having booths at community events, through building coalitions with other community groups out there. So, the 4th of July was a big success, but now I think more of the real work begins. And this is a good time to do it because, we've had so much excitement in the first 100 days and now, a lot digging in deeper begins. And it's time to move forward. We are going to have a meeting coming up July 16th. My table for outreach team is going to be out in the lobby. I think something to think about in terms of outreach is, are you already, say, in a book club that you might want to have somebody come to your book club to talk about indivisible? Why is that important? Well, if you think about how hard communities have had to fight for library funding, right? So this is something we don't think about, how democracy is important in our everyday lives, and even or if you have a hiking group that you belong to, then yeah, you should care about the environment and the EPA, right? So what about having somebody come to your group to talk about indivisible? Because these things intersect. So I think what we want to do on July 16th, if you would like to volunteer to help us brainstorm about what we can do to spread that word and to get out into the community. So you can meet me out in the lobby and we'll talk about that. What I also wanted to do was to tell you a little bit about the survey that ORD2 Indivisible did recently. So can I see a show of hands, anyone that filled out that survey? Okay. So, and also could I see a show of hands again of anybody that's here for the first time? Okay, so welcome. It's really good to see new people. Thank you for coming. I did want to share a little bit of information from the survey. So I have a question for you, and some of you might know the answer, or have a hunch, I don't know. Can anybody tell me what percentage of our group, and I should tell you that there were 335 respondents to the survey, which is a really great number to get great information, right? What is the percentage of females in ORD2 Indivisible? Can someone guess for me? 90%. Did I hear 90? 65. 65?
80.
Who said 70? So, I've got an ORD2 button for you. So I'm going to tell you, we're 75% female. Okay? So, the reason why that's important is because when I went to order t-shirts for the first time, I had to think about that, right? So what percentage do you think is 55 and over?
I'm good.
So let's hear some people raise hands.
I'm going to say probably 85%.
Anybody else?
90.
Okay, 83%. So, incidentally, related, 18 to 24, 0. Okay, the next group, which is 25 to 29, I think, was also 0. Okay, so this is important for outreach. We need to know who we are to work on strategies for outreach and for other teams, for events, for things that we want to do. We ask questions about where people live. That might not surprise you. We're 43% Ashland. There were some gaps that we found. I was really interested in how you get your information from ORD2 Indivisible, because we have to communicate with you effectively. So I did want to know how you get your information. So that was helpful to know. I think we found some gaps, and I want to just talk briefly about those. 23% of us have never read the Indivisible Guide. That's a quarter of us that have never read it. So especially new folks today, go home and get online and read the Indivisible Guide, because that is our blueprint for what we do. Also, this is really, really important. So let's see. What percentage do you think have never even visited our website? 30, who said 30? 35, okay. So that's a lot. Almost a third of us have never been to the website. I've got this pin for you. Okay. So this is important, and one thing we talked about in steering committee is that we need to start driving traffic to the website, so that that's where we can go to get our information. And then I think the last thing that I'll share a couple positive things. I just wanted to say that this is really significant, and Jessica, thank you so much for talking about the calls to action so much. She did a great job. 50% of us either make 0 calls to our members of Congress a week, or just 1 call a week. That's half, and that's too small. So we really need to get better and get back on that again and try to make calls every day, at least shoot for that goal. Some positive things. This is really overwhelming. Almost 85% of us feel like ORD2 communicates with you just about the right amount. And a combination equals 93% that are very satisfied with the work that we've done so far, or at least somewhat satisfied with the work we've done so far. So those are really great numbers. I want to thank you for filling out the survey. It's giving us really good information about how to move forward and how to guide the work in the teams. Question? Well, I think they still tally the calls every single day, and sometimes it is important. I know that there was a period of time when the first healthcare bill that was in the House, the one that failed, the first one, and there was a series of, I think, 2 or 3 days in a row where we were still asking people to call about the same issue, and it felt a little strange because it's like I just called yesterday about this. It's still really important to do that, and all I can say is you're really going to have your message down.
I also want to address that. Oh, thanks, Kristen. I want to address that because, this is really the first time in history that people are standing up for what they believe in. A lot of people, when we first started, I said, who's ever been political before? And, a few people's hands went up, and I said, except for the Vietnam War, and their hands went down. This is amazing what's happening, the power of the people, and it shouldn't be taken lightly. And you might be thinking in your own bedroom or your own living room, does this really make sense for me to do this every day? But it's not just you, it's the collective us that are doing this. So if you can think of it in terms of the broader picture, that's what it is. I also want to mention that if you are new to Indivisible today and you did sign in with your email address, What that's going to mean is we're going to put you on a list so that we send you these daily emails. And we really, really hope that you just give it a go and start making those calls and see how you feel about that. And then we'll talk a little bit about the website later on, but our website is chock full of information, and part of it is finding out how you can make those calls even more effective. So we'll get to that in just a minute. But who's next with?
Jenica, can everyone hear me? Yeah. Okay. I want to talk to you about the action team today. This was a team that I founded. I came to Jessica early on and said, we're grassroots. Let's hear from our members to find out things that they want to do within Indivisible, within this district, to make change. And around that same time, Dasha was communicating with Brett, and so we got connected. And we started this team. And I also want to mention David Sowers, because he's a huge part of our team. He can't be here today. But Dasha was getting something called the Walden Relay going. Has anyone here participated in that? Okay, great. Some of you have. So this was a great idea, and it was grassroots. It was just from the membership up. And so a number of people have gone to Walden's offices periodically, and Dasha has organized those with David to continue to make our voices heard there, and also to continue to establish a relationship there with his staffers, and just really make sure that they know that we're here and we're not going anywhere. So the Walden Relay is an example of an action team project that happened. Another is Eleanor here? Eleanor, by any chance? Okay, great. Is a member who came to us and said, I would really love to see more kind of local and state emails go out, calls to action. And I don't know if those of you who read those emails, but you've probably seen those coming through more. We're sending them out on the weekends, following different bills that our Oregon State Legislature is working on. So that's an example of another action idea. It was submitted by a member, and I brought it to the steering committee, and we're doing it. And Dasha also got phone parties going. Those of us who are a little intimidated by calling our members of Congress, we can go to these parties, we can learn techniques, we can talk about how it's going, we can even just do it together, like the buddy system is great. And we had a suggestion a long time ago to train with experts to get out the vote. Several members have talked with us about that, and that's getting going. You're going to hear more from Jim and Alan. I just want to mention a few things that are kind of upcoming, which are a Indivisible Media Corps and Letters to the Editor project. So probably 4 or 5 submissions through the action team were about letters to the editor. And so we connected all those different folks and connected them with Terry and Media and Research, and we're going to really work on trying to do maybe a training for those of us who really want to learn how to write letters to the editor and have those proofed and looked at and then sent out. And direct action and de-escalation training. We're working on looking at that and for the whole district, so that it's really worth everyone can be there. And a neighborhood listening project. So these are some of the examples. We've also had great ideas for rallies that we've done, Tombstone Tuesday, different things like that. So if you are, just inspired sometime and an idea comes to you, that's what we should do in Indivisible. Let us know. That's what the action team is for. And there's a page on the website. It's under Action Opportunities, Submit Action Idea. And you can do it there. We'll send you a questionnaire form to get more information about your idea, and we'll be in touch with you.
We have some forms outside on the table. If you are interested, you can just take it home and send it in. So make sure to stop at the...
Yes, so Dasha's saying there are forms at our table. Our table is in the lobby. I'll be there, and Dasha will be there. And that's Action Team.
All right, I'm Brett again, and I am the liaison to the social media team. the social media team, well, social media is kind of what started this whole Indivisible group. It started because both Jessica and I woke up on the day after the election and went, what do I do, what do I do? And happened to see the Indivisible guide. And we ended up with two separate groups, and a couple days later we merged them, and the rest is history. 3 weeks later we had like 3,000 members. So Facebook has been a Facebook has been probably the main way that we've communicated with you guys and spoken to the members. And if you don't know, we have a Facebook page, which is an official page where all our CTAs are and our events get posted. And then we've got a discussion group where everybody talks about, ways to get rid of Walden. We also have a really active Twitter account that's run by our friend Kristen, and that's kind of our voice to the outside world. And we've got an Instagram account that Lisa Shun runs. I don't know if she's here today. Oh, she is. Yay. So, actually, I'd like to shout out to the social media team real quick, and I wrote all their names down. If anyone's here, raise your hand. Jim Bachman. Kristen Moline. And then Gary Roberts is here. Ken Nash, are you here? All right, Ken Nash not here. Lisa we saw. Jolie's not here, I think. Jeff Altimus. Georgia French. Okay. Anyway, these are all people who have helped enormously. And what happened with for the first 4 or 5 months, we had a really solid team. And then some of our more active members started taking on more responsibilities. And right now we find ourselves in need of some people to help out with
Right, can you talk specifically about what you need help with?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
I just wanted to lead into it. So, most of what we need help with is Facebook. Who's on Facebook a lot here? Does anybody spend a lot of time on Facebook?
How about too much?
Too much time? Okay. Anybody that's not already on the social media team? All right. Well, I would like to propose to you that you put that time to good use. What we really need are Facebook monitors for our group page. We need people to answer questions when they come in. We need people to create Facebook events. We need people to help us share events from the Facebook page to the Facebook group. Generally, we need just people who are online a lot to help out with Facebook. So if that sounds like anybody in here, we would really appreciate if you came to see me. Where exactly am I going to be?
Social media?
Okay, directly in the back. Right. We're also building a YouTube channel because we've got gigs and gigs of videos and live streams from all our events. And, we need help maintaining that. We've got a Google Drive thing where we share photos. We need someone to help us kind of organize. We've got amazing photographers in this group. And they all upload their pictures to the Google Drive, and it would be great to have kind of an editor to pick out the best ones and put them in a folder. So we need lots of help on the social media team. We started out real strong. Now we kind of I feel like we're understaffed. So let's see. Graphic designers are great. Yes. I just want to mention that if you can get people to bookmark the website, we've got an amazing website. Actually, everything you ever need to know is on our website. So we're always trying to point people to our website, and I wanted to mention that. All right, that's pretty much what I have to say, and I'm also going to let you know that if you do volunteer, we have a meeting next Sunday, the 16th, at the Ashland Library at 2 o'clock for anyone who is joining the social media team. Please come. I need you. All right, started.
Can you say what
Oh, the web address, yeah, sorry about that. The web address is ORD2 Indivisible.org. And there are flyers out there. The Facebook page is like Facebook. Oh, there we go. Oh, there's all this stuff. Yeah.
There are flyers out at the tables that have the website.
it says .com.
Yeah, it says .com on the sign.
Does anyone have any questions before I pass?
It's .org.
It's .org.
It's
Oh.
indivisible.com, it's indivisibleguide.com, and it's ORD2Indivisible.org.
You know what? And also, I forgot to shout out to Jacob Hopper, who is our videographer. And he live streams all our events. He's been super helpful. He's live streaming right now. I'm going to have to watch this and be embarrassed later. Any questions? Yeah.
I have a quick comment.
Yeah.
I get emails from you,
Yeah.
and it gives the telephone numbers of the three original people.
Right.
But I think it would be useful to also have the email address, so in addition to the telephone calls, you can send an email.
Okay. Good point. That should be on there. And also, can I say one other thing? If you're afraid to make the calls, ResistBot is amazing. And I do that. There's days where I really don't feel like talking to anybody. And I do that, and they get a fax that looks like I actually spent 20 minutes making a fax. So all you do is text resist to 50409, and it walks you through the whole thing. Anyway, do you have a...
Just if you want to reach the congressman by email, you pretty much have to go through their site. Otherwise, they don't just give out their email address. You have to go through their site. So go to senate.gov or something like that and search for your member, and then
Did you hear that, sir? So you cannot actually, the reason we don't have the emails is because they don't do emails. You have to go through to their specific website to contact them through email.
That should be it.
So that's what that should be. Okay, we can put that on there. Okay, thanks, Brad.
Anyone else? All right, thank you.
Okay, I'm Terry, and I'm an old journalist, and so somehow I became the liaison to the writing and to the research team. So we are a small elite group. We are 3 at the moment, but we have 5 more people that want to get involved. And one thing I want to say about volunteering for ORD2 Indivisible is that everybody wants to get involved. Everybody's got energy and passion and things like that. And sometimes you just don't know what you should do. So what I'm going to ask all of you is to kind of look inside yourself and look at your skills. What do you bring to the table at this point? What awesome thing do you love to do? Because you're going to be doing this in your spare time. You may be doing it after work, on the weekends, 5 a.m. like Jim. At this point, what you're going to be doing is stepping up and doing something that's important to you and something that you know how to do. So bring that skill to us, right? Tell us what you can do. What are you awesome at? What are you passionate about? We will find a way to fit you in somewhere. Okay, and that's really important because we have some people saying, I just want to do something, and we're really sorry if we didn't contact you within the next week, but we're not sure what it is you wanted to do or what skill you're bringing to the table. So do that little self-assessment with yourself. What do you know how to do? What have you done in the past? Have you written press releases? Oh God, please come help us, and you have. Have you put together content for websites? Have you worked with the media before? Are you a public speaker? All those things are really important to us. So think about what it is you can do. And the second thing, which is kind of a little off topic for me in this division, but what connections do you have? Are you part of a Rotary group? Are you part of a environmental group? Are you connected to populations that we're trying to reach? like Hispanics, for example, high school kids, college kids. Are you a high school teacher? Do you have, access to these kids? Please, get us into your classrooms. Connect us to your clubs on campus. We want to come and tell the story of Indivisible and get them, because they're our voters. And you can see they're not taking our surveys, they're not getting involved with Indivisible, and we've got to find a way to reach out. One other population is the Native American population within our district. We have 3 reservations in ORD2, plus the Klamath tribe. We do not know how to reach those people, right? So if you have connections, if you know people with connections, reach out to us. Say, hey, I know people that want to hear your word, and we will trot Jessica out to see them. Okay? And if we send Jessica out, they're all going to convert, and they're going to be marching in right? Okay. All right. So, so a little bit about our team. Basically, we've provided the content for the web, for press releases. We fact check a lot. We run and get research when anybody needs it. They want to know information about where things are. The difficult thing right now is that while the focus of ORD2 is really narrow and precise, and it's what I love about it, the topics are huge. Somebody says, what about the healthcare bill? Well, what we said yesterday is not true today, because they just made a brand new bill, or they're taking it in a whole new direction. So a lot of your information on the national news and things like that, get it from the New York Times, because they certainly have better sources than I do right now. Okay? But what we can do as the writing team is tell you how those national issues affect you locally. All right? What is Greg Walden doing about this issue? We are the people that can tell you how that makes that connection. And that's how we want you to think, is through those portals of Greg Walden and our 2 senators. Okay? And things that we need for you to do, we need people to step up to help us on this letters to the editor campaign, because the 3 of us have our hands full right now and all have full-time jobs. So if somebody wants to, who has the ability and the knowledge and the skill to come up and say, I want to read letters that people write and give them feedback, or help us organize like a letter to the editor writing session, please step up. Some other things, we're going to put together a newsletter, just a quick, we know you get enough emails, but we're going to put together a really short, simple newsletter you'll get once a week that will remind you of the upcoming events, as well as to meet a member, so you can get to know the faces of the people that are involved, not just people up here, but all of you out there. And 1 tidbit a week, just a piece of meat that you can use as a talking point, or an issue that you need to know that's coming up. And so we need people to help us put those things together. If you're good at writing little profiles of people, come find me at the table in the back. One other thing we need is press releases. If somebody's got journalistic skills and can do that, Barry Figure right there has been doing it, and he does an awesome job, but every now and then he's like way too overwhelmed. And so the more people we have on these things, the better, that have the skills, so in case he goes on vacation and leaves us flat-footed. And then deep research. That's my favorite thing. I mean, I feel like I'm exploring the Titanic sometimes at 2 a.m., going from room to room with my little flashlight, finding cool stuff. But I love looking into Greg Walden's record, into what he's done, who he is. I've done an analysis of his donations, 2.1 million of them, donor by donor by donor. I figured out who they are, what they represent. And my favorite one, just as a little piece, is, you know, we always talk about the EpiPen for his wife because she's allergic. You were there at the town hall, right? He gets money from that organization. Okay, a lot. So things like that we can use as ammunition as the campaign goes forward is really important to us. One place that we're really lacking a liaison to is in marketing team. We've had people say, yeah, they can do marketing, and then they haven't followed through. So if you know people with great marketing skills, we're desperately in need of those people too. Okay? All right, my hand is to Teresa.
Have you done the research on the count by county as to the number of persons that would be affected by the proposed health,
The Oregonian's done that for us, actually. But then again, the health bill changes, and so the one that they did a couple of months ago may not be current today. So there are people that are working on this that are bigger than me, who I'm going to use their resources. A lot of times they'll do it for the whole state, and what we have to do is just go back and break it down by county.
The reason I said that is because that's the way you affect a local constituency,
Totally.
is to show the number of people that are your neighbors that are affected by a particular bill, rather than nationwide 20 million people are going to be affected.
Absolutely, and that's what we hope to do is the regular research team. And if you have specific requests, email me. All right, just tell me what you want.
But Rebecca from Unite Oregon is here, and she had a couple of things to say about that.
Yeah, I can actually answer that question. There's a great website that Kate Brown runs called 95% Oregon that actually has the breakdown current for the healthcare. I'm the health equity organizer with Unite Oregon. And it has the breakdown by county. And I also have some information here if you want to find me after. I'll be over the outreach table. I can answer a lot of those questions. That's my entire job right now, is keeping this bill at bay.
And Unite Oregon is amazing. So if you want more information, check it out in the lobby right here on.
We'll just hold off on the rest of the questions until we finish everybody up, because we're just about to move into that. Teresa?
Hi. I would probably rather eat glass out loud. I'm Teresa Safe, and I'm going to talk about fundraising.
Teresa, would you hold that closer to your mouth?
Closer.
Thanks.
Okay, so on September the 8th, I'm so far a team of one on fundraising, so I'll be right over there in that Elk Club after the meeting today. And on September the 8th, we're going to have a really fun event at the Medford Armory on B Street and Oak Street. What did I say, Medford? I really hate to talk in front of people. Okay. We've all loved the rallies and the workshops and the fantastic showing of the parade on Tuesday, but we thought it'd be good to let our hair down and have a party. So our Jackson County Indivisible group, we're really lucky to include some insanely great musical talent. And on Friday the 8th at 8 o'clock, we're going to have this event, and we're going to dance our butts off to the Rogue Suspects, led Alice D. Masilli, Jean Black with a Clapton tribute. Girls Just Want to Have Fun, featuring Shay Celine, Jennifer DePuglia, Lisa, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, I'm sorry, and Jade Chavez-Watt, Doug Warner, John Taylor, Beth Wishes, and Jack Hopfinger. Tickets will be $20, and they'll be on sale soon, so keep an eye on the website and watch for email announcements about when to buy your tickets. We're looking for volunteers leading into the event. We would like people to help us set up and tear down, as well as we're hoping to secure donations of beer and wine and food. So if anybody has connections and is able to contribute, find me over there at the end of this meeting and tell me what you can do. Or you can message me or email.
What's the date of it?
September 8th. It's Friday night. Okay, anybody else who has fundraising experience, I would love to hear from you. And one of the realities of activism is that everything costs lots and lots of money. We're looking forward to creating future events as we get into the upcoming election season. And if you have any ideas, we want to hear about them. Everybody's welcome to the table. And come find me. Thank you.
Okay, on the last one, we're going to talk about, in just a second, I'm going to introduce Alan Hallmark, who's he's on the executive board of the Jackson County Democrats. And the Democrats have developed a very effective way of finding voters we believe to be progressive who haven't been voting. And so one of the first orders of business to get Progressive You back up here somewhere in this district is to get progressive people to vote. We have to get them to put those ballots in. Oregon makes it about as easy as possible, mail in, and we still don't have, and particularly in special elections and in midterm elections, the turnout is not good. So we figure one of the biggest things to do in Jackson and Deschutes County has been doing it for 10 years, and I think Alan will speak to that. They've been very successful with it. So we're kind of piggybacking on that. But my role as an Indivisible team leader is to connect as many of you who want to do that kind of work, the kind of work that Alan's going to describe with the training program. I haven't taken it. It's the first one up now. It's Tuesday, this day after tomorrow, and I'll be there being trained to do what he's going to talk about. So Alan, can you tell him what it is?
Sure. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. I'm Alan Hallmark. My title now is the Neighborhood Leader Coordinator for the Jackson County Democratic Party. And this is a program that I'm really excited about because it's worked in many counties upstate. It was first designed in Washington County some 8 or 9 years ago, and they have more than 100 volunteers up there. And the same in Lane County, the same in Clackamas County, the same in Deschutes County. All of these counties have successfully used the Neighborhood Leader Program to turn out large numbers of progressive voters at election time. So we want to replicate that system here. We really use this. Kathy Shaw organized this for the library campaign. How many of you worked on the library campaign that restored library service for Jackson County? Does anybody get it? A couple of people here. So we have neighborhood leaders and we have some regional coordinators eventually. Right now I'm the only coordinator. But what it's about is this. We ask you to, as a neighborhood leader, we're going to send you an email that's going to have a turf. That is a list of houses, 35 houses approximately. We're going to give each neighborhood leader, and they're going to be close to their home, so they're going to be talking to neighbors. And you're only going to be talking to registered Democrats or registered Pacific Greens or registered Working Families Party members, the progressive parties in our county. So you won't be going to the doors where you're going to have hardcore Republicans to face. All right, so it's easy. And you'll get to know more people in your neighborhood. And we don't want this just to be a one-time thing. We want this to be an ongoing thing where you really get to know folks in your neighborhood and you impress upon them the importance of their voting. We're not out trying to sell them anything or get them to support anything in particular. They're Democrats, they're working families, they're progressives. We want them to simply vote. And next November of 18, we may have a slate card that has a list of candidates on it that we suggest that they vote for. But we're not going to be hard sales for these folks. We're just wanting them to vote. If we can energize our base of voters and get more of them to vote, a bigger percentage, then we have a better chance of winning. We have a better chance of getting Greg Walden out of office, and I think that is the main. So Jessica said that we're very lucky to have Senator Ron Wyden and Senator Jeff Merkley as our 2 U.S. senators, and there's no doubt that we're very lucky, but it's not just a matter of luck. It's a matter of organization, and we need to get organized in order to get our candidates elected. And this Neighborhood Leader Program, I think, holds a key if enough people get involved with it, and if you get up the courage to go knock on doors and actually meet folks and talk to them. It's really not that hard. I've been a political person for a long time. And I see Rich Rohde out there. He's one of the best canvassers I've ever come across in my life. How many doors do you think you've knocked on, Rich?
Over the years.
Yeah. He's good. So, there's a little bit of fear that you have to overcome in doing this. I'm not saying it's the easiest thing in the world, but once you get out of your door, and walk down the street and start knocking on doors of your neighbors who are Democrats, you'll find out you'll get involved in a conversation. That's what we want. We're not going to tell you exactly what to say. You'll get a script in an email, you'll get this list, and you'll get a way to record your data once you're done. But you don't have to say every word in that script. We just want you to start a conversation with these folks and then keep coming back to them over time and being sure that they understand how important voting is. So that's my pitch. I hope we'll get some of you to come over here and sign on. We've got three clipboards with the list on them. If you come sign up for the Neighborhood Leader Program, we'd appreciate it. Tuesday night, the 11th, coming up, is our training session at the OEA, the Oregon Education Association office in Medford on Highway 99 at Lowry Lane, across from the road, from the Grange Co-op. That's where we're going to have the training next Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m. And we hope that you'll sign up for the Neighborhood Leader Program and that you'll come to that training and learn how to do it. Join us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alan. I was going to say pretty much what he said. I want to add a little bit to it. The next training is this Tuesday, but there will be other trainings.
There'll be more trainings
as people are available to be trained. How many people do you need to put on a training?
Well, we can put it on for a dozen people or something like that.
So if you can't make Tuesday, we'll be having other ones. If you can't make it but you're interested, please come in, sign up if you're interested, and tell us when you'd like to have another meeting. The other thing that's over there, if you're interested in joining the team that I'm facilitating, and that is to say you're interested in voting and voters and you want to stay connected to it for a long time, you can also sign up for the voter advocacy team itself. But there are two sign-ups. One is to join the Neighborhood Leader Program, and the other one is to join the Indivisible team. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We're just about at the conclusion of our presentation. And if you have questions that you'd like, we've got 2 mics here, so if you just want to come up here and ask your questions to us. First of all, I just want to stress 2 very important things. One is, and I think we can all agree, that all of our efforts will be for naught if we don't vote, or if we don't make sure that people go out and vote. It is our right as U.S. citizens. It is what democracy is all about. We can't emphasize that enough. I'm so proud of our group. We've got 16 months to the next election, and we're already getting our ducks in a row. Please join us for this very, very important, empowering effort to make sure that as many people start voting as possible. So we also want to stress that it's very important for us to stay connected. Here are some ways for you to stay connected with us electronically. We've got our website, our Facebook page. We've already spoken about that. All of this information is out in the hall as well. But just so you know, there are plenty of ways for us to connect with you and for you to connect with us. So please do that. If you want to see us in person, we've got a couple of different social events coming up. We're holding a social hour once a month. This is just a way for us to sort of shake it out, enjoy a drink with some of our fellow Indivisibles. Our next one is at the Roxanne Winery on July 17th. Again, all of this stuff is on our website, but so for you to know that our next noon rally is July 22nd in Medford. We'll also have 2 rallies in August. And then as Teresa talked about, we're having our September 8th fundraiser. We're hoping it's going to be quite successful, and we hope you can join us for that as well. And ORD2 Indivisible.org for those details, Indivisible.com. If you want to read the Indivisible Guide, we hope you can do that. And yes, the next slide. Why we do this is pretty obvious right now, but together, in solidarity, I do believe we can succeed, and we hope that you will be with us on the journey with us. So thank you so very, very much for this so far. We'll be taking questions, and as we're taking questions, please come up to the microphones. As we're taking questions, we've got some people that are passing the hat. And our very own Gail Wilson will talk to you about where these funds go and why it's important for us to raise money for Indivisible. Gail Wilson, please.
Rallies, rentals, and parades. All of those things cost us money. Your money that you donate so generously is really well used. Every time we hold a rally, we have to pay for a permit. Sometimes we have to buy 2 permits to have a rally in one place. We have to pay for rentals. This particular space is an awesome meeting space. It also is rather expensive, worth it. Comes with a tech guy, make sure we have good sound. But we do spend your money very, very wisely. It did cost us money to have that wonderful entry in the 4th of July parade. And so, you know, I know that personally for me, being involved in Indivisible has changed me from feeling like overwhelmed to empowered. I know it's doing that for you. I know it does it for all these people who help this organization go. It's all volunteer. It's grassroots. And so I just want to let you know your money is well used. Some things do cost. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you again so very much for coming today. No questions? Anybody have any questions? Or people just don't want to come up to the mic? Yes.
I have a quick question. Do I need to go up?
Well, just so we can hear you, you can just use this.
Okay. Thank you. Well, my question has to do with when I called Greg Walden's office. They always ask for my home address, which I think is kind of creepy. How do other people handle that? Do you tell them?
Yeah, you tell them the address. They think they want to make sure you're in the district.
So we get this question a lot. You know, our senators are okay. Could we call the senator in Arkansas? So the senator in Arkansas's office is also asking for addresses because really and truly, I can't believe this is true, but senators, members of Congress, they don't care about you unless you have the potential to not vote for them. Yes. So they want to make sure that you're legitimate, that you're not calling from California or New York or some other state where you're out to get Walden, even though you're not going to be voting against him or for him. So that's why that's why they ask you your address, unfortunately. But that's just the nature of things. Politics is a nasty business, folks.
Well, the senators
come on up so we can hear you.
Well, I was just going to say, when I called, they just asked for my
Zip code. That's what so sometimes they ask for the zip code, sometimes they ask for the... Ed, did you want to say something?
I don't know that I need a mic.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, you do. I called senators. There was when there were only 5 Republicans holding out against Mitch McConnell, I would call them senators, but I looked up a zip code from my home state. And if it was Anchorage or Ohio or whatever, to give them a zip code from their home state, they'd pay a lot more attention to it. And they've been lying to us. It doesn't bother me.
Well, there you have it. That's one way to do it.
Actually, I have a comment on a question. Regarding the woman who said she feels really awkward calling every day, one thing I've resorted to is I'll call different offices because I feel a little less goofy. And if I have a lot to say, I do the email because I can compose it and then just paste it onto their website. And if I have a short thing to write, I'll use ResistBot. So by doing different things, you don't feel quite as wacky. My question actually, I don't know whether anybody knows whether there's anybody who's thinking of challenging Walden in the Republican primary.
Haven't heard anything.
Haven't heard anything. That's what I was afraid.
He's got that pretty sewn up. He's got that sewn up. Yeah. Okay, well, we have lots and lots of areas for you to get more involved, to connect more. We really, really appreciate you all coming today, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.